Okay, we're recording. This is Wrong Speed Record Chat number 12. And we have Mr. Simon Hughes, AKA Fupper. How you doing, Simon?
I'm all right. How's it going?
Good. Where are you sitting?
I'm sitting in my shed in the back of my garden in Nunhead, southeast London.
In the shed. And the shed is looking marvellous.
My shed is my home. My everything happens in here. Spend way too much time in here making stupid noises, and I love it.
Yeah, we're going to definitely get to it. Don't worry about that. So we're here to talk about records. But first of all, I just want to say where we first met. Okay, so Simon and I believe, and you can correct me on the year, we first met in 1993.
Wow.
Correct?
Probably right. That sounds about right. I really struggle with the numbers, but that would make sense.
Around there?
It might have been 92, actually, because I would have been, oh God, I don't even want to say how old I am at that point, but I think it's probably 92.
Yeah, okay, well, that also says how old I am. But so we met at college / university, although it was college, really. It was West Herts College.
University.
It was West Herts College in Watford. I did 1 year and dropped out to focus on my pizza making skills. But you did the whole 3 years. You stuck it out.
Yeah, like a mug, but yeah.
Yeah, but it got you proper work, which you're still doing, correct?
Yes.
And your job is?
I work in visual effects for films and television. So I do all like CGI, computer graphics stuff for various films.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I phoned you about 2 weeks ago to ask you about something that we'll talk about later. And who had you been hanging out with that day?
I've been hanging out with Tim Robbins. And
just been hanging out with Tim Robbins. How's Tim? How's Tim?
He's well, I have to watch these things because I can get like sued and stuff like that if you say the truth. So he's amazing, and it's all very good. And
I bet he is amazing. I bet he is amazing.
He is a proper dude. I mean, I'm kind of awestruck when you meet somebody like that, because it's like Hudsucker Proxy and stuff. You just think of these things and Jacob's Ladder or whatever. Yeah. So you're just kind of like, oh my God, it's Tim. Like that. Don't really say anything proper.
Exactly. Shawshank Redemption, right?
Yeah. There's that one as well.
Good films. Yeah. So Simon focused at university and is now hanging out with Tim Robbins. I focused not on university, and I am delivering junk mail and sex toys to the people of so absolute result. But so whilst we were at university for that, or college for that brief year or two together, we got to know each other quite well and bonded through music. And you're the only person I speak to from that whole time, really. And I think it's because music kept us together the whole time, whereas everyone else is just like totally frittered away. Yeah. But when I first went to your house, you had at the end of your bed, if I remember rightly, you had an enormous like travel chest.
Yeah, black trunk. Yeah.
Full of cassette tapes.
Yeah. Right? To the brim.
Yeah, and how many of those cassette tapes had songs that you'd written on?
I mean, I think there's probably more, probably 2 shoe boxes, I would have said at that time, something like that. And the rest of the tapes was just, I was obsessive with recording my own records just so I could travel, because I prefer listening to music walking around, generally speaking, or being out and about. Yeah. Or my dad had this amazing record collection, so I used to tape all his stuff, and then the radio. I just used to tape stuff off the radio all the time, and I just was obsessed with keeping them all and cataloging them. If anything, I had more about the tapes than I was about the records in a lot of ways back in those days. But these things chop and change over the years. But No.
So jumping forward to last year, which is when I last bumped into you, which was February in 2020. Yeah. I went round and we had some dinner at yours and whatever else. you showed me your shed, which you're sitting in, and it's where you record all your music. And this is the album you gave me. It's the latest Fupper album. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Gravity Revealing. You can see a few in the pile in the background there. I guess that's what the orange ones are. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of the orange on the left, but I'm going through at the minute, and because a lot of the Fupper albums over the years I never did physical copies of, so I'm going through and making physical copies of them all, and I'm sort of revisiting.
Yeah, it's something I wanted to say, actually. It's what I want to talk about, because so you have your own little imprint, right? Like let's call it that, and it's called Do It With a Sense of Urgency.
Yeah, or without.
Right. DIWASOU. That's how it's and this album is number 26, which you to believe that this is the 26th Fupper album you've recorded, only in the last few years as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, the 26 is kind of about to go through a process of change. This is classic me. I'm all over the shop with this kind of stuff, but it was number 26. But I've actually, with this going back and sort of re-editing a lot of stuff, I've actually decided to cut a few of the albums down and merge them as well, because I had this obsession with everything having to be half an hour for the longest time, and I realized that I was missing a trick here. So I've kind of merged a few of the albums together and revisited them.
Right. Okay. So
the problem you were.
So it sounds to me like there's going to be physical versions of 18 albums, but down to maybe less than 26 albums.
Yes.
But before that, you'd been releasing other things, because this is possibly the earliest physical release I've got of yours, I think. And
Yep, Milk. Yeah.
12-inch called Milk, and it's on Tritone Records, which you can't see, written there. And it was run by a Spanish fella?
Spanish-Italian.
Spanish-Italian fella called Fabio. Correct?
Yeah, Fabio Sebastianelli.
Yeah. So he took this 12-inch out for you. And what year was that?
That would have been about 1998.
98. Okay.
Yeah, 98, maybe 99. But...
Yeah. And so he also released a 12-inch by Clint, Klint, which was his band, right? And he did some other releases. In fact, he did the Stanton album on CD as well, which I don't have with me. But when the Clint album came out, it was because there was a song on what film?
Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. I think it was called Lock, Stock and Smoking Barrels, the Guy Ritchie thing. And who out of me and you got flown to Hollywood to play records at the launch party for that film? You, wasn't it? Yeah. It was a total blag. The only reason I went, basically, Clint was there's another musician, guy called Josh Harvey, who's works under the name Hervey now. He's actually like a famous DJ and all this stuff. Right. Under the many names which I can never remember, and the way those guys like to work, they seem to have lots of names. But Josh was basically Clint. He did the music and we're working with Fabio. But Josh was one of my oldest friends from school, and he was terrified of flying. And so Fabio, they were invited to do the premiere, and Fabio basically said, could I go in his place? Having never DJed in my life before, I had basically 5 days to cobble together some semblance of a set, and I had no idea really what to kind of play, and went and had the strangest 2 days of my life. Really, I think some of the strangest 2 days of my life. You were telling me that at one point you were playing a record, and maybe you can remember what record, I don't know, and him from the Fun Loving Criminals came over and asked what it was that you were playing. I honestly don't remember that. Maybe that sounds like me not being totally sure. The main story from that, though, was I put the Sonics on as Quentin Tarantino walked into the room, and he strutted across the floor. And then I think the other funny story, I mean, basically I was supposed to do the set, split the set in half with Fabio, and we'd kind of spend that whole week kind of, he was like, 30 records that I was bringing, here's 30 of yours and all that kind of stuff. And then as soon as we got there, Fabio just basically disappeared and just left me to it. And I had this very limited run of records. I just kind of was just doing the best I could. I was bloody awful. I really had, there's no beat matching, whatever. And I was just playing songs like I would do. And I looked over, and there was Paul Oakenfold looking over the DJ booth at me, and just like going, just like laughing. And a bunch of dancers suddenly came out, and they brought these like cubes that they put this dance floor together. They had to bring them out themselves, which is like the weirdest thing. And then they made this temporary raised dance floor, and they were all like ready to dance kind of thing. And I'm like playing, 1 minute I was playing hip hop, and 1 minute I was playing, like Sonics or whatever. Like there's no consistency in any of this. So I must have just been like a nightmare for them. And they were just they lasted about 15 minutes, and then they took their cubes away and walked out of the room again. It was very, very surreal. I think the best part of the evening, though, to be honest, was finishing. And we went outside and just ran out there. We actually put like a noise song on, just like hit it, and just was like, yeah, whatever, and ran out the door sort of thing. And then jumped in a taxi outside. And have you ever seen the film Night on Earth?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Jarmusch film. Yeah.
But it was like you remember the Russian taxi?
Was Winona Ryder driving you?
But you remember the Russian taxi driver in New York? He was a clown. But basically we had more or less him kind of just driving us around like LA. We were just like didn't want to get out. We were just kind of like, he was just so sort of, we were just in awe of this guy, and he was just kind of pottering along just in his own little bubble. And he was just completely bamboozled by it. I think that was just the best bit. It's just like getting out there and just driving around this alien place with all these freaks and and the mellowest man in the universe, just for your chauffeur.
Have you been to LA since?
I have.
Like for work, I guess.
I have for work, and then Hannah, my wife, that we were living in Vancouver for a couple of years, and we did a big road trip, which I was going to talk about later with records actually.
Sweet.
And I've been for work a couple of times.
I've never been. No, I've only ever been to New York. I've never been to anywhere else in America or Canada. So I'd like to go.
It's a place.
It really is.
Yeah.
And also, here's a 10-inch. And this
Damn it, I had that.
You what? Sorry.
I had that in my 10-inch pile. There's one off the list.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah, I just was, and it's a 10-inch that it's Fupper, obviously, so it's you, but it's a 10-inch that we put out, didn't we? On did like a couple of lathe cut releases, and I can't remember how many I pressed.
I can't remember now, actually. No, because it was that guy in New Zealand who did them, so they were like pretty limited runs. Imagine.
Yeah, I imagine it was about 50, if I had to guess. I've got here 2004 written on the back. So we did 50 10 inches on lathe cut. And I'm not going to talk about the lathe cut too much, apart from it was that Peter King guy in New Zealand that did it. But in the next episode, I'm talking to Phil, who now cuts lathe cuts pretty much for a living.
Yeah.
So tune in for that one. But yeah, so we did a couple of lathe cuts, and that was one of them. We also did a Last of the Real Hard Men one, which was Chris Sullivan's solo thing. So at the end of being at college, we started a band. So it's you, myself, Bob, and a variety of drummers until we settled on my brother, who was the 6th drummer in the band. And this is our first release. And it was the first release on Jonson Family, and it's a Stanton 7-inch called 4 Walls, and we hand stamped the whole damn lot, including the front. Which we cut little houses out of what the hell material was it? I don't know.
It's lino cuts.
Lino cuts. Yeah. And we just hand stamped 545 copies of this. And that was the beginning of pretty much. Not really the beginning of this band, because we've been doing tapes and stuff before, haven't we? We'd recorded a lot.
Yeah. They did. If that was what year were we on that?
I think this is 98.
98. So we must have had 4 years, I guess. Good run of 4 years before that.
Yeah, so we recorded loads of lo-fi stuff and 4-track stuff, which I think we'll get onto, because I think that's a massive influence on you, the 4-track world. So enough of this jibber jabber, as Mr. Let's get back into the records, which is what we're here for. Hit me with a record from your favorite record shop.
So as I've got them all here, so I was going to do a bit of to try and I wanted to do sort of like your early years record store kind of thing, something in the middle and something now. Was kind of what I was figuring. So one record with me, which is still always in my mind in one way or another, always probably pops up in music I make in one capacity or other, whether I realize I'm doing it or not. It's Basement 3, Playing with Fire.
And
there you go.
I knew you were going to say it, because we said a lot about this record. Huge influence, I know, on yourself. So carry on. But dragged out.
Very good. Well, that was from Time Records in Colchester, which is where I was living, and I probably was about 16, maybe going on 17 around the time. And I mean, it's a record that just kills me still. I was, without dwelling on it too much, but I was very ill sort of around that time for a good couple of years, and I was diagnosed with an illness around about 17. And I think there was a couple of key records, and Time Records in particular, were linchpins that really kind of got, sorted me out, really kind of helped me out a lot. And so I used to just obsessively listen to this record inside out, really, and had a couple of friends that did as well. It became one of those kind of shared things. And so it was, it's a strong record for me.
It's a brilliant record. It totally stands up. Absolutely, totally.
I mean, it's still like it's just so super cool as well. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like, if we want to call it music, and it's usually got a bit of a sort of behavior pattern it seems that people have to follow. You got to dress a certain way and all the rest. But I just look at them and they're just so sort of had their own take on it, and they're so sort of sophisticated in some kind of way, and I just really love it. But I was going to chuck another one in from Time, which I got around about the same, or maybe a couple of years later. And I wanted to show you this one because I thought it might be interesting in the wrong speed capacity. I don't know if you can see it, but the Guitarists compilation.
I looked at that today. I was going to bring that upstairs. It's a great record.
It's just like, it's so simple. It's just really not a crazy idea. It's a double album. And it was basically all of our guitar heroes at that time were just basically had like a 2-minute slot or thereabouts to just play guitar. And it just blew me away is really at that time really getting my head around guitaring and really kind of finding my own thing as well, that how different all of these musicians were. And they were just, and some of them are like just absolute heroes. Like obviously Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3 was on there. And you had like Kurt Rowski from Ultra Vivid Scene, Dean Wareham from Galaxy 500. Even like there's a really killer song in here. It's like Cat Bajalen from Babes in Toyland. I don't remember. Really, really lovely song. And it just opened really gave me the confidence to just go for it with guitaring in a way that wasn't traditional, I guess. And it just like have some fun with it. It loosened me up, and I just kind of really loved it. And so I was like, wrong speech to do a Guitarist. Bring it up to date.
It just be Bob. Just be basic. It just be Bob on a wah-wah pedal.
Yeah.
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
So those two were from Time Records in Colchester.
Yeah, which is, as far as I'd never go to Colchester. I was, I didn't even live in Colchester. It was just kind of where I was doing my A-levels there and going to college there. And
because you grew up in Essex, right? But you're sort of 50% Canadian, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Canada till like early teens, and then moved to Essex of all places.
Right.
And then backwards and forwards a couple of times in between, but there's a good few years in Essex. and then we moved out.
All right. Yeah. I got nothing against Essex. Essex is cool.
Well, you know, it's I mean, Colchester was an amazing place, both musically and with kind of groups and connections of people. I mean, I met Hannah there, who's my wife now. We met at art college there.
Right.
And then, you know, there's a good group of friends that I think we will stay in touch, you know, and that's a marker after all these years that you can still be asked to make the effort, really.
Yeah.
So the one in the middle, I mentioned the Canada thing, but Hannah and I were back in, we moved to Vancouver for a while, and we were living there for a few years. Vancouver is like, it's as much as it's like, I don't know, kind of struggled with it as a city a little bit as well, but its music scene was really strong.
Right.
And there were two record stores there in particular, which were real the cornerstone of that whole scene. But one in particular is a record store called Zulu Records, and there are two stories there. But like they really actually reinvigorated me for actually. I kind of had left Space and 3 even for a little bit, and they were going in there and they would play it a lot, and they were just really kind of you sort of picking up on all that sort of thing, and the influence of that kind of music around that time of like my sort of formative years was still really fresh in Vancouver. It still like is a real part of like their music culture, it seems there, and everything that we used to, certainly you and I used to obsess about, K records and Sub Pop and all that stuff. You could still kind of feel that culture very much there. So it was lovely to see. But I mean, one record I picked up around about that time, which I still love, is the Russian Zarlag.
Whoa, don't know that.
Cool. Don't know if you know this, but I mean, the guy this one's on Not Fun Records.
Right.
And I mean, it's as punk as you get, but it's just total sludgy lo-fi dirge, but it's got this real pop angle to it. So I think if you kind of come out of that world, you can kind of understand it. And he's like, he kind of paints himself as this sort of loser figure who's collecting all these old horror films from the 80s, and he borrows from his friends while they're sort of have moved on in their lives, and he kind of has this really weird sort of stories around it, and it's all it's the music's always on the verge of falling apart, and he's just got this really super lazy style of singing and guitaring, but it's so intentional, and so I don't know and he has all these little sound effects that are clicking off and all the time. It's total 4-track world things, but he's being clever with it. And
What's the name of it? What's the name?
The Russian Zarlag. There's, in fact, annoyingly, I've only got a couple on vinyl, but my actual favorite I'm trying to track down, which I haven't. I've just got a digital copy of. Shame to say, but I really want to get it. There's an album called Midnight at Mary's House.
Right.
And that's it slayed me this time I heard that. So.
Not fun. Am I correct that that's the label run by the people from Peking Lights? Do you know that?
Oh, I don't actually. I know Peking Lights, but I didn't actually know that. I don't. So
there's a connection, I think.
Yeah,
I'll look into.
But I mean, it makes sense. It's all they're very. I mean, even Peking Lights at that time when I found them, there was that album they did. I forgot what it's called now, but that was like a bit of a staple in our house all the time. It was like a glorious summer. We'd put that record on all the time. But.
Yeah, I think I think their first EP might have been called something like 936.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah, the yellow cover on it.
Yeah.
I've got it in the house.
I've grown to quite like the following release, actually, because I think Domino Sign. I've grown to quite like that one.
Right. Hannah's absolutely obsessed, I have to admit. But I think that was the one that stuck out for me, was that 936. And there was some other acts around that time. It was like, I'm not the hugest fan now, but there's a couple of Sun Ara albums around about that time that I really was into. On Patrol, I think, was one.
Right. Okay.
And that was a really good record.
Yeah.
I think but Zulu, they also do gigs occasionally, and hardly anybody would ever come. And like basically one of my and it's just insane as well, because it would be good. I mean, so here's who I saw playing there. Well, Dean Wareham. Yeah. So basically me, Hannah, 2 other friends, the guys running the shop, and a dog asleep on the stage. That was it. That was the only people there watching like Dean Wareham.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was just like this guy is like an absolute. I mean, the insane thing is, it's like about 6 months later we moved back to London, and I saw Galaxy 500 do like a special show where Dean Wareham come over. But anyway, the total total polar opposite. You know, we're talking like cues out the street, and it was like done in some church somewhere, and it was all very elaborate. It couldn't have been more different, but I can tell you which one I obviously preferred as a gig. It was definitely the Zulu Records one. But I was going to do a little segue from one place from the past to the present.
Love it.
But another record I bought in Time Records, and it's a band I always struggled with, and but I kind of got introduced to it from my dad's record collection. He was very much born out of that kind of London blues kind of scene. Really, he had a record collection of a lot of records like bands like Ainsley Dunbar and Downliner Sect and the Rolling Stones, and but he had a lot of American stuff in there as well. And he had a Canned Heat album.
Oh yeah.
And there was always be like a couple of tracks in it I'd always love, and then half the albums I would always hate. And that was like this being one of them, which I picked up myself in Time, Live in the Blues.
Yeah.
It's basically double album. One album is just a live version of them doing, I think it's just jamming out for 20 minutes on the road again, I think it was. And then the other album is just Canned Heat. And then I kind of put them aside, and then my current favorite records were Honest John's, where it became a bit of a staple for Mississippi Records compilations in particular. But I finally clicked. The reason what the 50% of Canned Heat that I loved was Blind Owl Wilson, the guy with the high-pitched voice, basically.
Okay.
And this album is, but just to have a compilation of just his tracks on its own, it's like this is like a gold album. This is just absolutely stunning, and just to have all the pieces together. This is in Mississippi. Yeah. Cool. I couldn't recommend it more. Just to take a step. I mean, everybody kind of knows the songs, but you hear it in a very different context. You know, it's got like On the Road Again's on there, obviously, and then Going Up the Country, which is a song for me, which I just still absolutely love. The drumming on that is just killer. The guitar playing. I mean, he's a harmonica player and a guitar player is his main sort of thing. But there's some really interesting YouTube videos when you hear him talking about his place he's coming from. I think he was like he's another one of the group who died in there at 28. But he's very different from the rest. He's not like a real rock and roller. He's a total introvert, and he was later diagnosed, possibly as having Asperger's, and he was very shy in comparison to the rest of the band. Like he really struggled as a performer. And if you watch live performances, like the guy doesn't move. You know, he's just rigid. But the music that he plays is so incredibly soulful because of it. I think in a way, you know, there's a real battle going on here, and I just think this record is just couldn't recommend it more.
Yeah, that's quite a label, isn't it? That Mississippi Records. Yeah,
I mean, it just Mississippi. I mean, I've got another two here. Big recommendations for compilations: Sticks Over Your Shoulder, over my shoulder, and Troubled Waters. If you really want a good entry point into really solid blues music, these two compilations I just absolutely love, and it just opened the floodgates for me again. I mean, I've always loved blues music, but these two records really instilled like how much I did really, and I've really gone quite deep into blues music since, as most over 40-year-old guys do, unfortunately.
Those records look great though. You know.
I couldn't recommend these two compilations more. I mean, it's like got Furry Lewis on it and R.L. Burnside are probably two bigger names, but there's a lot of real unknowns in there, and there's a lot of non-vocal stuff as well, which I think is really nice. And they're very much like party records. They're got a real live feel to it, and really stripped down, minimal, playing from the heart stuff. I love it. And you know, basically, Honest John's for me has just been. I mean, I think the way I sort of do music these days is like I love looking through older records and sort of, you know, finding like the backbones of everything that you have now. And I think most new music I listen to now, if I'm brutally honest, is very much down the Bandcamp road. And you know, I think most of us probably are. But Honest John's is just, you know, I check in once a week. They always have a new list up, and it's always like great. You know, like just there's more like these 6 Feet Under, Anxious Color, another Mississippi compilation. Got them. I mean, big favorites that I absolutely love and can't recommend enough. I'm a huge dub fan. And the Wackies compilations that they've been putting out there. I mean, I feel like I've got them all now, but
Cool.
this is just the best for me in terms of really. Lionel Barnes is the producer.
On Mississippi Records as well.
No, sorry. These are Wackies, or Bull Wackies All Stars. But it's all through Honest Johns, and they just keep coming. But yeah, Lionel Barnes is the producer behind most of this stuff, and it's got that real kind of getting in there, down and dirty kind of production. That's probably one of my favorites. Double Limited, Bull Wackies.
Oh yeah.
There's Backworld, which is great.
Sweet.
Free for All.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a big. There's loads. I mean, but basically, I'm not a huge fan of vocals. If I'm really honest with dub, like I really love dub production and instrumental stuff more.
Right.
And most of these compilations are much more in that vein.
Awesome.
But it's real, analog stuff, and it's just got a really heavy, dirty sound. And I hear a lot of what I love about a certain era of hip hop coming from that as well. Like there's a certain connection in the production.
Yeah, like I like those old. The thing I like about the old hip hop stuff is when it is the analog feel, and you can sort of sense that the loops are struggling to stay in time a little bit, or it's a bit sort of. And
I'm going to come to that in a minute.
Yeah, I was hoping we would, because I think it's really influenced your music. Because when one of the first things that you brought to me was you had a real tape player that you'd cut tape up and create loops with the tape and have like the tape. Exactly. Yeah.
That's the one there.
Yeah, and it really, and I'd never seen it. I was like 19 or something, or 20, and it's obviously something picked up from somewhere. So I hope we get into that. Yeah, but I'd never seen it, and it was really interesting to me, like the physical analogness of it. Yeah, and it's all over your records. I was listening to this today, and it's maybe one of the first. I haven't listened to it maybe for a little while, but I had it on today, and it really made me think of that machine and what I know of you. It came out really well in this.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was good though. It was like revisiting an old friend or whatever. It was cool. And you're still doing it with like the newer stuff as well. And I like it. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
That's cool. But the last, there's so much to say. I mean, I'm really spoiled living in London. Record stores everywhere. But Honest Johns is like, I've got so many records that I've been buying from them over the last few years. There's a lot of jazz. I won't go too deep into it, but a couple of jazz names I just want to mention. I really love like jazz music, which is largely played by 3 members or 4 members. I really struggle with big band kind of jazz sounds. I really like stripped down, quite minimal jazz. And the Yusuf Lateef album, Eastern Promises, has been I probably can't see any of these covers, but that's been
what you can see is me in the reflection when you hold it up. It looks like I'm the front cover of the album.
Yeah. you got your moment. There you go.
Massively disappointing jazz album.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, this it's Eastern Sounds, not Eastern Promises. Sorry, and it's on the Prestige label. But this, it's the opening song is called Plum Blossom, and that'll do almost on its own. That one song is like 4.5 minutes or whatever. But it's literally just, I'm not even totally sure what the percussion is. I think it is just somebody literally just finger plucking one string on a bass, but done in a real kind of nuanced, like listening deep kind of way. 2 notes probably maximum, and then him playing flute over the top of it, and it's just like it's got so much space and it's got so much air in it, and it's like really, I don't know, it kicks, it's a beautiful record. And I'm sort of going deeper and deeper into people like him, like Yusuf Lateef is another. Got this one the other day, Psychomodus.
Right.
It's got a couple of moments where it gets bigger jazz. There's bigger jazz moments in it, like all these records have. But I think these are real kind of turning point records where they're starting to explore their sound a little bit more. Which again is another thing in jazz music I really love. I love that point where most of them were just starting to explore, just branching out. Maybe we weren't too sure what they were going to do with this,
Yeah.
So they're kind of, there's something about that point in most music that I really love. It's just something about when you make the jump and go, okay, we're free jazz now, and you can just skronk away for 30 minutes and everyone's going to love it. I actually struggle with, if I'm really honest. I really like that point when people are sort of trying to work it out, trying to do something different. And
cool. Yeah.
I'm not too sure what it is yet.
Yeah. Honest John's is a great shot. I agree. Like, and if I live in London, which is very infrequently, certainly at the minute, I always somehow manage to swing via Ladbroke Grove.
Yeah, they just.
I'm going to Peckham. I've got to go via Ladbroke Grove to go to Peckham.
Yeah, it's only an hour and a half. There you go. I got one last from Honest John's, which I'll use to segue into your next question. I think your memories one, but it was JVC Force Strong Island, 12-inch, which it's one of those songs that I used. This was around about 1988 when it come out, and I totally was obsessed with around that time and absolutely loved, but I never knew who it was. Like I recorded it on the radio and just this is called
Strong Island, you say?
Yeah, by JVC
from
Force.
Long Island, right?
Yeah. And and it's just like, check the song out anyways, because it's it is just of that era, and you just but I think what I just loved about it though is just thinking it was one of those records I was never going to find out what the hell it was, because like whatever show I taped it on is pre-internet days. There's nothing to tell me what this is gone, it's gone forever. And then and this popped up on Honest John's, and I was just like, that's really ringing bells. So I just bought it and I got it home, and I was like, thank God, I finally got it.
Because what's been in my head today, so this is sort of relevant to that, because that was from the era when they would shout out their boroughs in New York. Right, so Long Island, they were Strong Island, they were shouting out Long Island, right?
Yeah.
I was listening to this, and
amazing.
I don't know if you can see it. South Bronx.
Yeah.
So they're shouting out South Bronx on here, and I love that era of like, it's just so sort of minusculely, well, New York's big, right? But it's still like, our borough's better than yours, but I love that.
Yeah.
And it's that era of that sort of hip hop. To be honest, I love the modern stuff. There's modern stuff I really like as well. So I'm not like old school. West. And I know you're the same. You're still digging into it, but
I'm still like, sorry, you're gonna say.
No, that's it. I just thought I'd bring it up because I love the shouting out your home city area of your it's like it's like it's like old school, like village battles or something. I've just got to let the dog out. Hold on. Gonna go out and see Mummy. Big boy. Yeah. I've got to pull my freaking kecks up. I got the belt. I got the belt on a looser hole for when I sit down. Otherwise, the belt buckle digs into my slight belly. Yikes! Sorry about that. You saw my ass.
Oh, I love it.
Where
I didn't bring Martin with me.
He'll be back in a minute. You watch. Where are we? Oh yeah, hit me with a record with memories.
Yeah. Well, I guess this ties in with that as well, because it's in that same era, and I know this will mean to you probably similar as it does to me. This is a record we used to talk about all the time, really. EPMD, Strictly Business, but it's again, I think like I was sort of saying about jazz music that I like of a certain era where they weren't really sure what they were doing, so working out. That's what I love about this era of hip hop as well, because I don't think they didn't really. All the acts were so different to each other, and the records they would use to make beats or whatever could be absolutely anything. And half the time, a lot of the psychedelic music or 60s music we listen to now, dub music, you'll hear it all in these in one component or another. And so I find this whole era, and everybody does the same. We've all heard it said so many times. 1988 was the year, and all that kind of business. But it's for that reason, and it's worth knowing that. I mean, I love hip hop still now, still keep finding stuff. I struggle with some non-sample based hip hop, I think, if I'm really honest. Like, you know, I prefer it when it was like crate digging sort of world and all that business. But EPMD was a special one though, because like we were talking about with tape loops.
Yeah.
Like I learned, I was studying audio engineering for a bit, and I learned about splicing tape. And I was just suddenly just clicked in my mind about, well, what happens if you just, you know, splicing tape was more just done as editing, so you're cutting a section out that you didn't want in there anymore. But what I was just a bit like, well, what if you like just, you know, tape them around each other, and you know, you can create continuous beats. And I just wanted to have something to play along with guitar along with, really. And so I just started playing with it, and it worked. And I was like, this is just like one of those big moments, you know, one of those big kind of click. And then I remember I got this, I can't remember what the book's called, but there was a book called About Hip Hop around that time. And there was a big section about EPMD, and they were just talking about how they were like, whoever was the producer side of the two, I can't really remember, but obsessively cutting beats at home on a tape loop machine that they would rap over.
Yeah, yeah.
And you really
find out what book that is. I need to know.
Yeah, I've probably got it in the loft somewhere, but it's like and what's so nice about it, and you touched on it earlier, but it's like the beats are slightly imperfect, and it creates a very, very different feel. And that EPMD record is like also linchpin of a lot of the way I think about music. I love music that sounds like it's on the verge of falling apart. It's just like they're doing it so on purpose, and it's so in control, and it becomes so laid back, it takes you somewhere else. And it's very, you know, there's a lot of precision playing, and then there's a lot of like OCD type stuff that sometimes you just want to go, whatever, you know, and just let it happen a little bit. And EPMD are the masters of that, I think.
I've gone on record many times as saying that they're my favorite of groups. I just love the fact that everything feels just slightly behind the beat.
Yeah.
Eric Sermon's voice is so not like, I don't want to say not right for it, but it's just so sort of weirdly like, and they're from an era, and I've picked up a few records from that era as well, just for the hell of it, because I kind of thought they're from that era where you needed to sound like yourself rather than anyone else. It seems to me now, like, and I do love stuff now as well, and I even love stuff that I'm about to like half bag off. So whatever, ignore me. But, there seems to be a thing now where you need to sound like someone else to make it. Whereas you needed to sound like yourself to make it. So I've got here we've got LL looking awesome standing on a car. Which I really like. That in a cassette somewhere. Looking awesome punching a punch bag. And that's a massive star, isn't he? We've got of course Run DMC. In their business. This is like my Adidas and all that business, and it was their own sound, right? And finally, I like the cover of this is Curtis Blows Back by.
I don't know that one. He's got that kind of perm thing that some of the guys would have, like that sort of Jerry curl or whatever.
This is how they used to do promo albums back then. Was just
not
a chunk out of the record. So I bought this from a secondhand shop, of course, but it's that Anyhow, sorry. This is your. We're talking about your shit, but I'm just saying that I love that era of it's our sound and it's our thing, and then of course.
I've got that coming.
Yeah, so we'll save it. We'll edit that bit out. I can't edit it. Okay.
No, I mean, it's exactly the point, though. It's like just they weren't really sure what it was yet, and it's just finding it, and I really love that. I just absolutely love that. But there's a sort of potential that a lot of acts now are, it's working to a degree of a formula. I think it's kind of like, what it is now, so we're just doing it, and it's like whatever.
A little bit. I mean, I agree. I still like it. Like if I think about Aesop Rock or these people that are following, or Open Mike Eagle, or these sort of
Quelly Chris. That's my big recommendation for nowadays. I love a lot of his stuff. So.
I've heard some of his stuff. It's good. Like I like the one with the guns on the front.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's got like It's like a collage of 100 guns or something.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere. I can't remember what it's called. It's terrible, but there you go.
Where are we? Have we done record of memories? Have we done that now or not?
Well, I guess that's sort of it. But I got a couple of others with memories, so I was going to add in anyways, because I'm just cheating and I'm going to do more than one.
Go for it.
One from my dad's record collection, Archie Shepp for the Magic of Juju, and this was again probably about 17 years old thereabouts. But my dad just basically sort of said, here's my record collection, have a free rein. Just explore it. And you're just going through records and you pick out the things you expect to pick because you kind of know what it is. There's like Doors were in there, Leonard Cohen, Beatles, all of that sort of stuff. But then you suddenly come across a record with a psychedelic skull on it and you're just like, my God, what the hell is this? And then it was my first experience of free jazz, really. And it's the opening song, The Magic of Juju. Hasn't got duration in it, but I think it's about 20 minutes long. And I was just like, what the hell is this? You know, and I recorded it on one of you remember those yellow Memorex tapes? Yeah. They're really kind of multicolored, but yellow, the cheapest ones you could buy anyways. But I recorded on that and I used to just drive around to it all the time. And you're driving over to see Hannah and play it really loud, really late at night. And I worked it out. It was one of those records you're like, okay, they're just wailing, but there's something about here which is connected and it sort of works. And what is it? And I tried to work it out. But again, it's like, I think it's just a 3-piece. It's just drummer and bass and then him on saxophone. And the drumming is my first experience really of polyrhythms. Like the beats just seem to be heading in one direction and then some other whatever they're doing, can't really work it out, sort of sends your brain going off in another direction, but they keep going and they keep interplaying with each other and somehow it works. And so you stop and you just listen to the drumming and you're like, why does it about this that works? And then the bass is feeding into that and they've got this crazy ass sort of rhythm sort of going. And then he's just playing phrases over the top. And it's not just like a constant barrage. It's like it keeps having moments, but so your brain jumps to that one and then you jump back into the rhythm and your head's just doing this for 20 minutes. And then about 5 minutes in, the drumming just lets loose on it. Yeah. And it's just really playing like a much more of a solid rhythm. But again, a different sort of, the rhythm that kind of ties all the other pieces together. And then I just would accelerate every time.
Your dad's record collection. Crazy. Your dad's record collection was impressive.
He had some great stuff on it. I don't know how much he liked that record, and he probably has no idea how much it meant to me. Well, he does know how much it meant to me because he gave it to me eventually. But yeah, it's just one of those records where you learn about music and yeah, get a lot off of it.
No doubt.
Yeah. I mean, I got loads in the memory category, but maybe, I don't know if I'm overdoing it in the memory. You could stay in it forever, but...
Yeah. Go on, chuck one more in.
One more from my dad's collection. How about that? He's a Muddy Water folk singer. And it's probably one of the most intimate sort of recording sessions in a way. That's what I loved about it. It's basically largely acoustic.
Yeah.
Double bass, I think it's a 3 or 4 piece, I'm not totally sure. But it's like they play so quiet. And it's like the microphones are like right in there and you hear them breathing. And it's just like, it's just very intricate, very soulful, minimal, and so much space again. And it feels so sloppy but controlled. It's on the verge. It's just like, yeah, it's going to break any minute, but I don't know, it's just so together. And then they just kick off with there's one upbeat song in the whole thing called Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, which is probably a bit dodgy, but there you go. But it would just lift the whole album off, it just kind of, great record.
Yeah, we'll brush over that, I think.
Yeah. probably better too.
Hit me with a bargain find.
So I got a couple of angles on this one, but I'm going to pull up one because you already pulled it up.
Yeah.
But I won't linger on it too long. But Paul's Boutique, which what is it? Manufacturer property, not for resale. So I don't know if that means it's some kind of a promo copy or whatever. But gatefold and all the rest of it. But this was car boot sale find, 50p, and it was basically some mother whose son had obviously left, maybe under slightly bad circumstances, and just had a box of his records and was just getting rid of them. All the Black Sabbath albums and Paul's Boutique, 50p for Paul's Boutique. So
I think I've got 3 copies of this. I got 3 copies of this album. Because when it came out, like, no, it wasn't popular. It wasn't like, and it was, they had it in our library. So, you know, we used to get records out of the library and have them for like 2 weeks or 4 weeks and have to bring them back.
Yeah.
But at one point, our library started selling them all off. So I picked it up for 50p from our library.
Yeah.
It actually irritates me, not this copy, but every copy. I've not spent more than about £1 on these, each one.
Yeah. It's just one of those records.
Yeah. And then now it's reissued. I saw it being reissued as like a triple or quadruple gatefold thing. So this kind of awesome, legendary picture, like goes out like 4 or 5 sort of.
Yeah.
But it's such a great photo, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just like total place, and you just wanted to be there. You know, it was just that. Yeah.
It's like how you do a gatefold. It's like, okay, yeah, just get a fisheye on it.
Yeah.
And it's really of an era, like all the cars and stuff, like the red that red battered car there, like this crap isn't down on the road now. And it's like when you were young, you would see beat up cars on the road, right? And people would be driving beat up cars.
But hang on a minute, like mine's different to yours. Like, I've just realized.
Let's have a look.
I haven't got a red car in mine.
Hold it up. Hold up the inside.
Well, I've actually, like, if you see this car here, I don't know if you can. And then if I go like that on the back, I've got the same car. So mine's because mine says some like manufacturer's property not for resale. So maybe I've just got some dodgy copy and I just realised.
Yeah, yours is probably worth £1 zillion. All right, yeah, a different inner bit.
Yeah,
I got the red car here.
Yeah. But I don't even have that building. It's like they cut it off here or something. Oh, what's on the?
How weird.
Oh, you learned something.
Yeah. No, I got the same there.
Yeah. I got this business.
Yeah, and it's like a Brooklyn Dust Music. Capital 1989. This is the like original press, 1989.
Yeah. Mine's 1989. Ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to dig into that. How do you find these things out, anyways? I don't know.
Oh yeah, Discogs. It's a minefield. Go on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got like 3 copies of this, so I might have a look at my others and see if I've missed them.
Yeah. See if you're missing the red car or not.
You got the red car. Oh, damn you. Great record. And it was also essentially this and 3 Feet High and Rising was kind of the death of mass sampling.
Yeah. That's when people started getting sued.
Yeah, they went mental on it, and people started going, hello, hang on. Because I think like the Beatles and all sorts have been sampled on this.
Bob Dylan is in it. Yeah, it's all in there.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Like, hang on, lads.
Yeah.
So like when this came out 89, so yeah. Where are we? Okay, I've got a bought on tour one. I know you have a way around this.
Well, I hope so, because I've never really toured the Fupper. I seem to pick a gig maybe every 5 years, like that.
I mean, we played Italy, and we did play around the UK.
It was
the record shops at that time. I know.
I don't because I kept being like, I must have picked something up doing Stanton shows, and I was just like, I'm not thinking of anything. So I thought of a different angle. Was instead of a tour, I'll do a pilgrimage. So it was basically when I was living in Vancouver, Hannah and I did a big road trip, driving all the way down West Coast of America, and just basically stopped off at all the places that, you know, just kind of musically meant something in the past.
We just pause, Simon, just pause a second. I just need to shout something to the rest.
Let the dog in. Okay.
Stan. Ready? Can someone get the dog a denti stick? To, get his, because he's shouting at me, and it's sorry about that. Okay, road trip, Vancouver, Hannah.
Yeah. So yeah, but the first point that we stopped off at was the home of Dub Narcotic.
Oh, yes, do it. Yeah,
had to do it. I mean, we were both, we're suckers for you. Introduced me to these guys, right. And then, but obviously, it's Calvin Johnson and Beat Happening. We were both probably equally obsessed with Beat Happening.
Yeah.
And basically, I mean, we started the trip by going to Olympia because they were doing a music festival called Helsing Junction Sleepover, and it was just like what a music festival should be. It was literally like, pitch a tent in the middle of an apple orchard. There's probably 100 people there. Bands were just set up playing all around this farm, and there was like a river going through. Second day was like really hot day, and everybody was just taking their clothes off and swimming in the river. And there was just like 16-year-old kids taking drugs around you, and Hannah and I were just sitting there and watching it, just going, I love this. But I think a standout moment in that festival was actually a band called Why I Must Be Careful, which I can never really find anything for. Basically a jazz duo, but they're playing like a Rhodes keyboard and just crazy free drumming. And but I was hearing this music being played like across the field sort of thing, and it just sounded like perfect, like it was on record. And I was like, oh, I must be playing record somewhere. Let's go find it. And just kept walking through, and it just came to this like this duo set up under a tree in a field with about 10 people playing around it, and they were just amazing. Just kicked it off. But yeah, I mean, that festival basically ended up meeting Calvin Johnson and Ian Svenonius.
Wow.
We're just walking around really, awesome. And just chatting to people. And Calvin Johnson was running a stall, and he was selling off compilation tapes, which it's called Rhythm in Collision, which is one I picked up there. Right. And I started talking to him about Jonson Family, and hoping that he knew who the hell we were. He didn't. But whatever. Just had a nice chat with him, and just had an amazing day. Really, just sort of hung out. But I'll come back to this tape in a minute, because what I really loved about that whole era of being there was realizing as you go how interconnected it is to the way we all grew up in England. And it's something about that time, suburban white kids and whatever, and just the way they were finding music and the way they wanted to play music is just, you feel it all the way down. And there's an act in particular here, which I'll come back to in a minute. But basically, we carried on driving. We drove into Seattle, obviously, checking out a couple of record stores in there. On the off chance, I thought I'd see if it was there. And sure enough, hey, Colossus, we're in the record stores in Seattle. And I just love that. Again, just loving that kind of, interconnection. And just, so it's just, yeah, I don't know. We carried on into just blathering about a road trip. Jesus, talking about your holidays, boring. But I guess I just wanted to get the point. It's just, I loved that feeling of everything I knew in England, I was experiencing in so many ways there, and the people and the way they dressed, and the things they did, and the way the culture was, the same challenges they were having. Everything just felt so ridiculously similar, and it just made sense. You just kind of get it.
Yeah. Where is it? I was I dug it out. I can't find it at the minute. I did have a Beat Happening record here, but I can't find it at the minute. I thought
we got one. I can show it.
Yeah, go on. What you got? Which one?
I have to show it because it's just a lovely piece of vinyl.
Oh, that's exactly the one that I had about. Yeah.
The sort of vomit colored vinyl.
Yeah, exactly the same. I can't find it, but yeah, oh, no, here it is.
Yeah, but again, I think it was you lovely sort of made me aware of these guys. Yeah, there was like a Sub Pop video compilation came at the time, and you had it, and it had Pine Box Derby on.
Yeah,
and which I still think is a perfect song. Cannot Be Broken. Absolutely. Just bang on the money.
Exactly, and I think we both bought this when it was one of the records. I think we bought it when it came out.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I think this might be their last album, and then I dug backwards. But I think this. But yeah, I love Beat Happening. In fact, I listened to this afternoon in preparation for us. I thought it's going to come up, and it's important. It's on Sub Pop, and K.
Yeah.
I
mean, Beat Happening in so many ways. I mean, certainly for me, were many acts that when we were doing Stanton, I had in my head for where we were going with this, and these guys were up there, and
yeah,
Sebadoh stuff and Guided by Voices were all there, and all of
and
this.
so
kind of
Calvin Jonson went on to the dub narcotic thing that you were talking about. This was the first 7-inch I got by them. It's the Fuck Shit Up 7-inch.
I haven't got that one actually.
Which is awesome. They did the whole like, oh look, it's fucking snap. Look at that.
Oof.
Yeah. Like these records get battered.
Yeah.
I'll have to get a new copy of that. But they get fucked. But they come in like crappy paper sleeves. But but I liked it. In fact, look, the record's actually sticking out the side of the sleeve.
Yeah.
But we thought, were you with us? Did you see Dub Narcotic when they played?
No, I missed that. There was a bunch of those Stoke Newington shows, wasn't it?
Yeah, they played in Stoke Newington.
Remember you guys?
Place.
Yeah. No, I missed that. I can't remember which gig I went to. There was one. I only went to one because there was a series of them. And
I saw 3. So I saw Dub Narcotic and someone.
Was Juna 44?
Juna 44 was one. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was another. There was a sort of rip off of. Well, you want to be careful not saying anything, but sort of it wasn't makeup, but it was somebody trying to be makeup, and
it was Bobby Conn.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's the 3 I saw there. But Dub Narcotic were one of them, and Calvin Jonson slammed his mic down at the end and just walked straight out. I was like, cool. He's grumpy, but it turns out I think that was his vibe for the whole.
Yeah.
Live.
I saw he did a solo show in Vancouver. Actually, just did an acoustic show on his own, and like he was just like, I don't know. It's just maybe that's more where he's more comfortable or something. But it was real nice sit down gig, kind of gentle thing, and it was all very chatty and it's cool.
I heard he doesn't like onions. That's my fact about Calvin Jonson is he has a real problem with onions, and for a while no one in Olympia ate onions because Calvin Jonson didn't like onions.
God, he must hate me because I love onions.
Yeah, well, I'm sticking with it. I think that was a fact. That is a solid fact.
I love it.
Okay, this is a silly. I'm beginning to realize that these are all very silly subjects that I'm asking people to find records for. This is potentially the silliest, and that is record that people wouldn't think that you would dig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did sort of struggle, but I found a couple of angles. I think one, I had a box of old 7-inches that were literally from when I was probably 12.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's see what's in there, kind of thing. And then I just pulled one out, and it did just make me laugh. And I actually was like, I kind of like that song. Actually, it's all right. Told Hannah the name, and she sort of told me off for saying it wrong, anyways. But UB40, Rat in Me Kitchen. But yeah, I mean, it made me laugh in particular because it made me think of Manor House that when I lived down the road from you, and the finale of that house that when I was living in there was literally like I walked into my kitchen after a night out with you probably, or playing a gig, 2 o'clock in the morning, turned the light on, and there was a rat just on the kitchen counter, basically larger than my cereal box, with this like arm in the cereal box, just kind of, and you just sort of turn the light on and had that kind of like look at you moment. There's like tail hanging over the side, and he just was like, "What?" Just carried on eating, and I was just like, "Okay." 2 days later, I moved out, and that
was the cereal.
But anyways, UB40, Rat in Me Kitchen. So
what was the cereal he was eating?
Rice Krispies.
Classic rats.
I know.
Famous for it.
This thing was like, up on its back legs. It literally was bigger, like proper Rice Krispie size box. It was taller than that, tall enough to get his arm in over the top. It was like, oh my god, that was Manor House.
Just out of interest, if Hannah corrected you on how you said UB40, how are you saying?
No, she just said Rat in Me Kitchen, MI. So she was like, you can't do some kind of like patois kind of thing or something like that. And I was like, but that's how they spell it. And she's like, no, they don't. So I got out. No, that's how they spell it. Right?
Okay.
So there you go.
But that is, I think that comes up a lot, is music from your very, very early childhood. You still, despite everything, you can't help still liking a top 40 song from the age of 10 that is just stuck with you through the years. And there's nothing, and that's fine. Of course, that's what music is.
Yeah, formative years stuff. Really.
Yeah, of course.
Other stuff is, I don't know. It's just. John Williams' Guitar Greatest. It's like a classical Spanish guitar. It's like, you know, that classic moment I was like, okay, I'm gonna play guitar, and like your parents go, okay, here's a record, and like, listen to that and like learn it. And but it's like I mean, I think like so many, there seems to be a real resurgence in like kind of guitar playing as a whole. It's sort of out there at the minute, and you know, it's always there, but I don't really know what I'm saying. But it's like sort of things feeding off of John Fay and all those kind of things, which are touching on classical music all the time. It's this bit of a mix of blues, bit of a mix of jazz, and then you see it with things like Gun Trzynski Trio now, $75 bill.
Love that.
You know, see all these kind of things, and I don't know. And there's something about just classical Spanish guitar.
Are you into that $75 bill band? Do you like them?
Yeah. Again, you recommended that, so I checked out the tape, and I went to see him Cafe Oro before all this business kicked off. Actually, it was just before. I can't totally remember when it was now. I was big into him. I think like, out of all those acts, I think the one that's been really clicking for me is that Gun Trzynski Trio, which is Steve Gunn and the duo. So not trio. I'm saying it wrong. Anyways, but they haven't got any of them in here that they're really rate. But there's actually, we're going to pull this up because they've got a real similarity to Gabor Szabo, which is a jazz fusion guitarist from, you know, more from the 60s. But this album in particular, Bacchanal, highly rate. Really, it's the recording on it is, and production on it is just absolutely phenomenal, and the guitar playing again is just really intricate as a space. It's a psychedelic record, but they're far from psychedelic acts in a lot of ways. So it's again one of those records where they're trying stuff out a little bit, and you got like Lee Hazelwood cover versions on it and things like that. It's kind of, I don't know. I had to fit that one in because I picked it up this week, and I found this incredible record to go for walks with.
from Honest John?
No, that was Bandcamp by, but I was just sort of hunting around, and what's the name of the label? It's like Ebulia, I think it is the name of the label. I haven't got my glasses.
Right.
Where's the name? I can't actually see it.
Wow.
Yeah, Ebulia. I'm probably saying that wrong.
Of course you are. That's fine.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, but that's it's an awkward subject because I know that like, there's no such thing as guilty pleasures or anything. So you end up thinking, well, so what if Dire Straits, like, you know, I don't care what you think, I like them. That's the end of it.
Now you said it, Dire Straits, that'll do.
Yeah, well, like, Tom brought it up. Tom mentioned it as well. Like it's a piece of music, isn't it? Who cares? Okay, we're on to the last subject, and that's 10-inch. 10-inch. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I understand the subject, I guess, but I don't actually own a huge. I own a Breeders 10-inch and a Beastie Boys 10-inch. That's my lot. But I just was like, I mean, I actually really like it as a format, and I wanted to bring it up because one we did together.
Yeah,
it was the Blackhorse rides. You know, we must have liked it enough to do this. So, and I love this record, I really do.
Yeah,
and there's I really like compact media. Anyways, I really like cassettes and CDs. And
so just quickly talk about who this. Not many people know this band. This is Blackhorse.
Yeah, well, it was basically sure. Well, Blackhorse was you and Chris, basically when Stanton was either finishing or finished, and just before Chris moved to Australia. You booked yourself into a rehearsal studio and just did a lot of jamming and recorded down on the 4-track. And I think at that time, you know, I'd very much made the decision just to focus on the Fupper stuff, which is much more about producing and messing around with stuff, really. So you gave me the tapes, and I just layered it up with a bunch of crazy thoughts and ideas, and had a couple of songs that I chopped up and did some sampling with, and play guitar over it. And it's just very I don't know. I mean, for me, it was just a great sort of like the saying goodbye to Stanton kind of thing, and
You can see that there. You probably can't.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, Joe and Chris.
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris was my
Yeah.
brother. He was the drummer in Stanton. And it was an oddness, Fupper.
Yeah.
And it's on tritone, which is the same as the same as the Fupper 12-inch.
Yeah. So they were on tritone. There were 2 12-inches in one album from Fupper, and then this. So Fabio had a lot of faith in us, and so kind of lost touch with Fabio over the years. But obviously, hats off and a big thank you to making that happen, because there's some killer records.
Yeah, but we carried on doing Blackhorse for a couple of years, right? We did a lot of recording with different. We had Ian Scanlon joined, Claire joined on drums as well, Duncan Brown.
Duncan.
Elisa did some singing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Was it just the 5 or 6 of us there?
That's what I remember. We gigged it a couple of times, didn't we, with that lineup
I think
as well.
We played 4, 5, or even 6 times in total.
Yeah.
And we recorded a whole bunch of albums worth of stuff. You even put together an album called London Rides, which is just a CDR, which I think you probably made about 2 copies of, because I've got one and I've got one.
Probably made one for everybody. That's about it.
Yeah. And we played. I think our first gig was with Mike Watt in Brighton.
Yeah.
And we played at the Vibe Bar, I think. In did we play at the Vibe Bar in?
I think we did. There was Rota.
Rota,
Notting Hill.
Yeah,
did a Fupper show with that as well. As the famous gotten proponent. And we played in Windmill, Brixton as well. Remember that?
Yeah, which I'll say right now I'd forgotten about, and then Ralph Bassclef mentioned it in a couple of episodes ago. Which weirdly that he was there with that, because he's good friends with Duncan, who of course was in the band.
Yeah.
So there's a riff on this. Which song? I can't remember. The Ping Pong. I think there's a riff on here that ended up on the first Colossus album.
Is there?
Because Chris and I recorded all these jams. It was me really not. I knew that Chris was going. I had these sort of rudimentary bass things that I just wanted to record before he went. And really, I was like thinking about the next band that I wanted to do. Yeah. Which kind of ended up being Colossus, really, even though this happened as well. So there's a riff, a bass line from this is on the first Colossus album as well.
It's a transition record. I think that's what I love about it as well, though, because it's kind of everybody just trying to, things have changed. What are you going to do next?
And there's a song on here called "Being Driven in a Taxi by a One-Eyed Man in Mexico."
Yeah.
when Elisa and I went to Mexico, we got driven in a taxi by a fellow with one eye.
Yeah.
And the song after about him.
Yes, you do.
They all had every taxi in Mexico or where we were was a VW Beetle. Every single one. Yeah. Old school Beetle. Really weird.
I love it. That's where they all ended up.
Yeah. Any other records to show? Anything else to say?
Any other records to show? Well,
I tell you what. I think I just saw what you were holding. Then hold on. Am I right in thinking that you were holding this? Did I see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you did. I thought I'd mention this because it's 10.5 Newton from Hastings, and not enough people talk about them.
No, they were a cracking band and lovely guys. We did a lot of Stanton recording with them. They had a little studio that they built.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time with them. I went and did a couple of sessions with Andy, the drummer from these guys as well, which we've got tapes of stuff. Andy gave me a tape of some of his solo stuff as well, which I absolutely love. It's really, really lovely. I mean, it's kind of like it's something between Ken and Money Mark or something like that. I don't know. Whatever.
And it's funny. And just quickly, I have a Money Mark 10-inch as well because I thought maybe you'd mention them.
Yeah.
Really like.
I was tempted to. Yeah.
I really like this one. It's really good. But
I don't know that one. What is that one? I don't know that one.
It's well, I think it's called Performing Chicken. But it's got I know, but it has the Insects Are All Around Us song on it.
Yeah, which is the killer. But
I think all the songs ended up maybe on the album that came out after it, but this was like a 10-inch that is on a label called Love Kit Records.
I came back to Money Mark recently actually because of Jeff Parker, was listening to a lot of those Jeff Parker albums, and it's just like, this really reminds me. It's not the same in any way, but it just made me dig up all those records again.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Jeff Parker stuff that's on International Anthems Records.
Yeah, I got this here. This fella.
Yeah, exactly. That's his mum in the photo. Yeah, and that's the album.
Yeah.
And that's his dad.
That's
his dad on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it must be. And this is the one I've been really. I love both. They're both great records, but this one I've probably been getting more into. I've literally
New Breed, is that what it's called? That one, or
yeah. Interesting enough, Honest John's buys as well, and I ordered these just before kind of lockdown, so they kicked in for the last batch. Got this big apology email from the guy in the store about not being able to, whatever, and he was like, "Oh, where do you live?" And checked my address and all that stuff. I was actually, my son lives around there. I'll drop them by. You're just like, freaking brilliant.
I love that label. That International Anthems label is one of my recent obsessions. There's a lot of stuff on it.
Been noticing you talking about. I need to look a bit more into it. All I know is Jeff Parker stuff. But.
Yeah, it's like Chicago jazz.
Yeah.
And there seems to be a collective there, and they seem to release brilliant records. From everyone that I've heard, I'm like, I need that in my life. I need that one in my life. I've got like 4 or 5, but I'm slowly I'm I think they're brilliant records.
Yeah, he seems to have kind of branched out a bit, isn't it? Like these are much more going into that kind of standard Zero Tortoise kind of production and experimenting a bit and all that. But like the albums before are much more 3-piece jazz acts, really, and they're great records actually. I love his guitar playing anyway. So
So we're gonna think about wrapping it up because we've been going for about an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes.
Really?
So that's fine. I've got no problem with that. But one of the things I want to say is that so this was the most recent Fupper album, came out last year, we're saying. And, we're going to do a new one on Wrong Speed. We're going to put a cassette out in May, and so he's done 26 albums on his own label, Do It With a Sense of Urgency, and his 27th album will come out on Wrong Speed, and it's going to come out hopefully in May if he pulls his goddamn finger out. Correct?
I'm working on it.
And you have a name for it as well, don't you?
Yeah, the album's called Burning Up the Night, which is my original plan. I've been writing some novels for a couple of years now, and there's a novel which I wanted to release with an album. The novel's not going to be ready in time, so this is just coming out in this time. But there's that's where it's all born from. Anyway, so.
Cool. I'm really looking forward to it. And you sent me the songs this afternoon, but it was like a Google Doc, and I had to ask for a request to listen to the Google Doc or some crap, and like. I cannot handle. By the way, if anyone ever sends me music, please don't send me it as a Google Doc or whatever. Like a WeTransfer is fine. It's something I can understand. Thank you. That's it. It's a message for everyone else. But yes, anyhow, new Fupper album going to come out May. Hopefully, it's going to coincide with a couple of other things. Maybe if we're lucky. I'm really excited to hear it and put it out because I really like the tape. I really like the way you work, and so we're looking in your little office there. I'm looking in the background, and I love the fact you've got your little room out the back, and you're just creating endless albums and don't stop over the years. I think that's massively insane of you. Brilliant of you. Sorry, no, I really like it. I think I love people doing stuff like that. So it's marvelous. It's exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I've got no other records here that I want to show apart from one. And so in the year 2000, I got married to Elise, and we're still married. So that's 21 years. Hooray!
Yeah.
And Simon bought me a wedding present, and it's the only wedding present I can remember getting. So 21 years ago, like you know how people buy you things for your wedding, and like kettles and whatever else. But this Simon bought me this album, and Safe as Milk, and I
most important album
remember.
ever made.
I completely remember you buying it, and it's easily the best wedding present ever. So here's a tip for anyone else watching as well: if you go to someone's wedding, buy them vinyl.
Yeah,
because they'll remember it forever. And like when
Buy them safe as milk.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's a great record, isn't it?
That's just my favorite beef art. Absolutely. I mean, I know we'll probably have alarm bells going off all over the world because it's not nearly experimental enough, but you know, it is my favorite.
Oh, it's a brilliant record.
Yeah, I love it.
Look how awesome they look on the back there.
Yeah, exactly. Sophisticated.
Yeah. Suave.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a wedding present. 2000.
There you go.
Probably came out sometime in the mid to late 60s, I would have thought. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
66,
Yeah, it's a great record.
Yeah.
Yep. So there we are. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. It's good fun.
Yeah.
I've also had records like this for ages, actually. I love it.
Yeah, and here's the hound causing a few problems earlier, but he's come to say hello. Yeah, well, he was sick in a previous episode. You'll get to see that. Don't worry about it.
Did you film it at the actual moment?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Simon Hughes. Had a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been really good, and it's good to see you. And I hope we get to bump into each other physically.
Yeah, definitely.
At some point.
See each other soon. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We'll swing via Honest John's wherever we
go. Yeah.
Okay. Wave goodbye, and then I'll press stop. We can carry on talking afterwards. But
all right.
see you later. Cheers.
See you later. Bye-bye.